Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be filming another episode of the Lunar podcast, and I'm really excited because it's the first episode of 2020. So it's been about 3 weeks since my last episode and I have done a lot of knitting. So I'm really excited to talk to you guys about everything that I've done today, and I also have some acquisitions to show you, which I'll do at the end, and I have a book to talk about. So if you're curious about those additional things that I don't always do in my podcast, keep watching until the end because it's a little bit special today. I'm coming to you from Columbus, Ohio, where it is a chilly but very sunny day today, so I can't complain. I just got off of work, so I may look a little bit tired or whatever. I just got home, I changed into my sweater, and I am ready to talk to you guys today about some knitting. You may hear a couple of dogs wondering about. I have a cockapoo, Makoa, and a husky named Roxy, and they're just wandering around right now, and I'm filming in a different location if you guys haven't noticed. I wanted to see what it would look like with a little bit cleaner of a background. Also, I wanted to show off my sweater today, so I thought this would be perfect. But I'm sure we'll be back to our normal location in no time. Just wanted to try something new today. So I hope you guys had a great holiday season and a great New Year's, and I hope you're all ready to set all your knitting goals for 2020. Last year I did a make 9, but I did not follow through with it very well. I made 2 items off of my make 9, which was the Nordishka. I actually made 2 Nordishkas by Caitlin Hunter, and the rug sweater, which is what I'm wearing. I finished this at the very end of December. I can't remember the exact date, but I'll have it on my Ravelry project page, so if you guys want to check that out, you are more than welcome to. I entered it into the Blame Dunner knit along? Make along? Yeah. By Vicariously Knitting. If you guys watch her podcast, she had a make along where you just cast something on Selfish for yourself and you can blame it all on her if everything gets pushed back and you miss deadlines or whatever. So I went ahead and entered this in, and I'm very excited that I was able to finish it this year because it was on my make 9 and I really wanted it. I already had the yarn and it was so fast to knit, you guys. So let me show you a little bit. I can't actually see what you guys can see because I'm using the back camera on my phone because it's better quality. So hopefully you guys can get an idea of what it looks like. If not, I do have some pictures on my Ravelry page. But this is just the rug sweater by Junko Okamoto. And this is a free pattern on Ravelry, which is fantastic because it's so cute. So I think this took me about 10 days to finish. I obviously didn't work on it the entire 10 days. I took a lot of days off of it, so I think altogether you could totally knit this in like 3 days, like a long weekend if you wanted to. It's a great pattern. It uses a chunky yarn. I used Knit Picks Wonder Fluff and an alpaca blend yarn, so if you're sensitive to alpaca, this may not be the best yarn for you to use. But if you're not sensitive to alpaca, 100% try this yarn out. It's, I believe, $8.49 a skein. It comes in a little ball, and I'm not quite sure how many yards you get in that right off the top of my head. But I started off with 10 balls of the main color and 2 balls each of the contrasting colors. It's just something that I bought whenever I came across it at a sale that I was at earlier this year. And so that's the quantity I had. I ended up using about 4.5 balls of the main color and then about half a ball each of the contrasting colors, like more like a quarter for this one, but that doesn't matter. So I have quite a bit of yarn left over, which I'm using for a design that I'm actually doing, which I'm not going to show you guys today, but probably in the next podcast you'll get a sneak peek of that. So I do have a use for the leftover yarn, so it's not going to just sit in my stash, which I'm very happy about. But the best part about this yarn paired with this pattern is that it's so lightweight. So this is a really large sweater, as you guys can tell. It has a lot of positive ease on me. This is a one size fits most pattern. So it's only written for one size, and that size is 49-inch bust, maybe 49.5-inch bust. So it's not the most size inclusive, as I mentioned in my last podcast, but it is a free pattern, so you kind of have a little give and take there. But on me, it came out perfect, and it actually came out exactly to gauge. I used a 5.5 millimeter knitting needle, like circular knitting needles, which I believe is what the pattern called for. And I didn't change anything at all. So if you're wanting to make this pattern, it's very important that you know that you will need to catch floats on it, because as you can see, there are some really long floats, especially in this section here and in this section up here. So I believe I didn't go more than 5, maybe 6 stitches on occasion without catching a float, which is totally uncharacteristic for me because I usually don't catch any floats. I'm really happy with the outcome and the fit, and I just really like how lightweight it is, because since it is such a large sweater, like I said, this has a lot of potential to weigh a lot. So it would be heavy and bagging down on you, but since it's so lightweight, it just drapes so nicely, and I love it so much. So I don't really have much else to say. Like I said, I followed the pattern exactly as it said. I didn't add any rows, didn't subtract any rows, nothing. I really liked it because the short rows are worked in between each pattern. So I'll turn around really fast. So in the back, you can see that there's a little bit more space in between the patterns. Hopefully you can see that. And that's just because she works a short row or 2 in between each. So you get a really cool shape with it, and I'm just really excited. I think in my last podcast, I said this reminds me of something you can get at American Eagle, and I totally still agree with that. I think the last time I showed you, I was just here. I wasn't very far at all. So yeah, it's a very quick knit, and I highly recommend it if you're in the market for something like this. It has a very unique shape, a very long yoke. So it kind of gives you a swancho feel. And when you raise your arms, the sweater does go up, but that's exactly what the design is supposed to be. So if you don't like that, don't make this pattern, because it's gonna be like that. But other than that, I think that's all I had to say about my rug sweater. I'm very, very happy that I was able to finish it in 2019 and check it off of my Make 9, even though I only made 2 things from there. Oh well. I will not be making a Make 9 this year. I kind of just want to knit freely throughout my year, pick up sample knits if I can, and whatever else. But I did make 13 sweaters last year, and my goal was 12. So we exceeded our goals for 2019. And I believe in a podcast that I made a year ago, in January or February, I titled it The Year of the Garment, and it definitely was the year of the garment. I pretty much only made garments. I think I made like 1 hat, a couple pairs of socks, maybe like 6 or 7 pairs of socks, and 13 garments. So actually it was 14 garments, but I didn't count one because it was just a tank top. So it's really whatever you want to say. Anyways, 13 garments in 2019. Let's see if we can do it again in 2020, because I don't see my sweater obsession going away anytime soon. Yes. So let's move right along to a half-finished object that I have to show you guys. And I need to grab a sock blocker because it is a sock and you guys are probably going to want to see it. So give me 1 second. So I'm not sure that I ever showed these socks on my podcast before, but I started them around Mother's Day, maybe like a month after Mother's Day, because I made my mom a matching pair of socks with the same yarn, and I wanted to make myself a pair of socks with the yarn since I had enough left. And then it kind of just sat in my bag for a while because I wanted to gift knit some socks and whatever. But I finished one of my socks. This is the Glimmer sock pattern by Emily over at the Blue Mouse. It's just a basic ribbed sock with a slip stitch heel flap and gusset. And I just did a wedge toe. So here it is. This is the Farmer's Daughter in Rough Customer, which is this colorway right here. And I believe this is 100% superwash merino, so it's not the best for sock knitting. So I did a contrasting heel toe, and yeah, just a heel and a toe. I did a contrasting with, I believe this is Lane and Lotus in her linen colorway, but I'm not 100% sure. I don't have the label anymore. I'm pretty confident in that though. So like I said, just a basic 2x2 rib. I did about a 3-inch cuff, which is my favorite. And these are actually super cute if you roll down the cuff a little bit, and then they turn into little anklet socks. So that's what I will be doing, I'm sure, whenever I finally get around to wearing these. It looks a little weird on the blocker, but that's what it kind of looks like if you fold them up. And I haven't cast on the other one yet just because I didn't want to put that kind of pressure on myself because I've casted on so many things with the New Year's, guys. I don't feel that bad about it, but kind of a little bad. So yeah, I don't have much else to say about this, so we'll just move right along to our works in progress. Throw that back in my bag. That sock is living in this little watermelon bag that I made earlier this year. All right, and I'm gonna go ahead and show you my next work in progress, which is something that you guys have already seen in my last podcast, and that is my Dreama sweater. I don't remember totally where I was when I showed this to you guys last, but I think I had just split for the sleeves, and I am so much further than that now. So here we are. This is my Dreama. I did do a little bit of a steam block because I have a tension issue. I'm sure that you guys can tell on the camera. So whenever I stopped the color work and I started knitting just stockinette in the round with the one color, my tension got a lot tighter, which I should know better by now, like that typically happens. So it stressed me out a little bit because I didn't think I'd want to wear it because it looked dumb, and I didn't want to frog it because it's not that serious of a project. So I gave it a little steam block, which I rarely ever do, and then I tried it on again, and it really didn't look that bad. I actually thought it looked really freaking cute. So I tried to keep working on it, but I've gotten distracted by other things. So like I said, last time I think I had just split for the sleeves when I showed you guys this. Now I've finished the body and I've moved on to my first sleeve. So this is being knit with Malabringo's worsted yarn, which is a single ply, and I'm just using a pink and a yellow color. I know the yellow is called Frank Okra, but I'm not entirely sure what the pink is called. Maybe it's called Dusty. I don't know. You guys can refer to my last podcast if you really need to know. And the only modifications I've made so far are I've cropped it because a couple of reasons. I really wanted to have enough yarn left over of the pink to be able to make an inverted sweater because I had 4 skeins of the yellow and 4 skeins of the pink. So I figured if I had enough pink left over, I could do another colorwork sweater, but the opposite of this, which really intrigued me. So I made it a little bit cropped, which for me isn't very cropped at all. It hits right where my pant waist would sit. I'm very short, so I kind of get lucky in that area. And I omitted the color work from the bottom hem, and I'm not going to do the color work on the sleeve either. I just thought it would look a little bit too much with this color palette, so I decided to keep it very simple. I haven't fully decided if I'm going to do the full length sleeve or a 3/4 length sleeve, because with the crop, I think the 3/4 length sleeve would look really cute. And I can't wait to finish this, but I haven't worked on it at all because Sleeve Island sucks. I hate doing sleeves, you guys. Even with the 12-inch circulars, it's just not my favorite. So I might switch to Magic Loop. I've kind of been enjoying Magic Loop lately, and maybe that'll make it go faster. I honestly haven't touched this in a few days because I think I put a few rows on it, but like honestly, I haven't touched it for a minute. So that's just gonna go back in the bag. Don't really have much else to say about that. And my Dreama is of course living in my Tanny Casey bag with all my pins on it, which I really need to get that done so I can use the bag for another project because I don't have a whole lot of project bags, but I have a lot of projects. All right, and like I said, since it's a new year, I decided new year, new cast-ons. So right after I finished my rug sweater, I needed to cast something on because obviously, yeah. So I went and I grabbed my Sweet Georgia yarn, my Sweet Georgia Tough Sock yarn. I am a Sweet Georgia ambassador, which I love so much. Like, it's such an honor, honestly, and I can't believe I was chosen. Okay, we're over it. I'm not affiliated with them in any way. Like, I don't get paid to talk about them. They just send me some yarn and I talk about it and share my projects with it, which is really great. And I get to take some courses online from the School of Sweet Georgia, which I have been starting the yarn dyeing course. So I'm hoping that I'll get a lot of information and I'll be able to do some new updated yarn dyeing videos for you guys. I'm just an amateur, but I like to do it as a hobby on the side just for fun. And I do have some bare yarn, so the class has been really great and really helpful. But anyways, I grabbed my Sweet Georgia yarn and I cast it on the Cipolla by Caitlin Hunter. Now this isn't a pattern that I really ever wanted to make, but I had 2 colors of this yarn, and I was going through my library because I have a ton of patterns in my library, especially Caitlin Hunter patterns. I think she had a sale earlier this year or the year before, and when she had that sale, I pretty much bought every pattern of hers that I wanted just so I would have them, and the Sipila was one of them. So I went ahead and I just cast on my Sipila. So here we are. I don't know the color names right off the top of my head, which is not great. I should have looked. But I know that, actually, I think I do know the color names. I know that this one is called Trinket, which the dark purple is from their newer collection that they came out with for the winter time, I believe. I'm pretty sure about that. So they sent me 2 skeins of the Trinket, and this purple is awesome because it's like just a plain purple, but it's so tonal. It's like the most subtle tonal purple ever. Like, I don't understand how they did it. It's really cool. And then the lighter purple, I believe, is called Gray Lady, and it's the same. It's like a really light purple, but it has like a lot of gray tonals in it. I love it. Like, when it's in the skein, you really can't tell that much that it's going to be that tonal, but when I caked it up, I was very surprised. But anyways, I'm sure you guys are just waiting to see my progress on my Sipila. I haven't worked on this for a few days because I started a design of my own that I've been working on nonstop for the past 3 days. I'm not going to show you guys that, like I said, but this kind of fell to the back burner because I really wasn't feeling color work right now. But I got quite a bit of progress done. I think I worked on this for 2 or 3 days, off and on. And this is where we're at. I am using a 4.5 millimeter, 4.5 millimeter knitting needles. I'm using my Leica needles because I get a bigger gauge with that, and Caitlin Hunter has a very large gauge. If you guys are familiar with her patterns, she's a very loose knitter, and I am not. I'm a very tight knitter. So I needed to go up, and I know with her patterns and figuring weight yarn, I know pretty much what needles I need to get what gauge, and with my Leica needles, I get a larger gauge. So Leica. And here is my Sipila. I don't have a whole lot to say yet because, like I said, I just started not long ago. It's a very simple pattern. There's no long floats, which is really nice. No long floats that I can think of anyways. I think there was like only one section where I had to catch floats so far. And then I'm doing the short sleeve version because I thought it would be really cute to have a graphic style tee for the spring and the summertime, because I don't have one of those yet. And this yarn is really incredibly soft. It's just a nylon superwash blend, but it's like silkier, and I don't know how to explain it. It's just like really soft. And since it's such a loose gauge, like, it's going to be a lot flowier, so I thought the short sleeve would be perfect for this yarn. And I'm really pleased with the way it's working up in the colors. So yeah, I think that's about all I have to say about this one. It's not really living in a project bag right now because I don't have any empty project bags, so that's a problem. I need to get to work on it, but my Sipila, yay! I hope that I can get this done before, spring, so I can wear it. That is the plan. I am doing another sample knit for Playful Company Yarn. I don't know, I'm doing a shawl sample knit, which is really exciting because I've never knit a shawl, and I know it'll go a lot faster than a sweater. So that'll be fun, and I think it has some mosaic knitting on the bottom. So that'll be great too because I haven't done a whole lot of that. But I'm really excited to get started on that. I've been stalking my mailbox for the yarn to come in. So as soon as that comes in, I'm going to also cast that on, and then I'll just have a whole lot of whips waiting for me to finish. All right, so those are all the whips that I have to show you today. I'm, of course, still working on my husband's cardigan, my sister-in-law's pair of socks, which I think I might frog because I think I knit them too short, and now I'm kind of over it. And I don't know, sometimes I just don't like knitting for people, and I think that's okay, because sometimes people, they pressure you into saying, I want a pair of socks, for instance, and then they just like keep thinking that just because they asked or they told you that you're gonna do it, and I don't necessarily want to, and I think at first I felt pressured to, but I mean, I'm the one knitting them. It's my time, it's my materials, that's that. we'll see. Those are still hanging out. But I also started a new design. I feel like every time January rolls around, I always want to design something. So I'm using my leftover Wonder Fluff to knit a sweater, which is finally working out. I frogged it 5 times and I just finished the yoke last night and it actually all worked out. So hopefully it's smooth sailing from here. Let's go ahead and move on to acquisitions. So if you guys don't want to see any acquisitions, then go ahead and click out of the video now. All I'm going to be talking about from here on out is my acquisitions and a couple of books. But thanks for watching up until this point. If you decide that acquisitions and books aren't for you, I thank you so much for watching, and I'm going to go ahead and start talking about some yarn now. So over the holiday season, I did 2 swaps. One swap was the fiber share, which is pretty popular. They do it 4 times a year, and they get a couple thousand people that sign up each time, which is really cool. And then the second swap that I did was the Secret Santa sock swap, which was a new one that somebody over on Instagram was doing. And I got so spoiled by my partners. I was crying every time I opened a package because people are just so kind and so generous in this community. So I am really excited to show you guys some of the yarn that I got. So Fiber Share Partner spoiled me with yarn this time, and she sent me some Nooch fiber, and this is the Midtown Sock Base 75% superwash merino, 25% nylon, and 463 yards, and this is in the colorway Petals. And she said that this company is named after their cat, so that's really cool, or this colorway. I'm not exactly sure. I just remember it said that on the notes. So it's just a really bright neon speckled yarn. I really like it. Like, this is totally up my alley, especially for socks. I really can't wait to knit with this. So she did great with that. And we didn't really talk a whole lot. She's a teacher, so she had been really busy. So we didn't have a lot of communication, and I can't believe how well she did with hardly knowing anything about me. So she sent me a couple of skeins of this O wool, which is an organic, what do they call this? Hold on. I want to make sure I tell you guys right. This is 100% machine washable, certified organic merino. And it's 394 yards, which leads me to believe that it is a sport weight yarn. It doesn't say what the weight is on here, but I'm gonna say it's probably sport weight. And this is made in Maine, which is really awesome because I love, it wasn't local to me, but it's more local to my Fiber Share partner. And this is in the color Pearly Muscle, which is a dusty lilac purple color, which is one of my all-time favorite colors ever. So this was a total treat to see. I am so excited to make a sweater with these. It should be enough to make a sweater because I'm planning on pairing it with the next thing that she sent me yarn-wise. When I saw this, I definitely started crying because this was just such a generous gift. And she's gifted me a spin cycle yarn. And she said that she really thought that I would enjoy working with this, but she didn't think that I would buy it for myself, and she is so right. I definitely would not have. And she sent me the colorway Idle Nights, which is a blue-green with a little bit of purple in there. And the purple that's in this goes amazing with these. So I'm thinking this has to become a sweater. They are the same weight, I believe. The Spin Cycle yarn is a sport weight. It's 100% American wool, superwashed, and you get 200 yards with that. So I'm so excited. I never in my life thought I would have a Spin Cycle yarn, so that's such a great treat. And then she also really went above and beyond, and she gifted me the Flight of Stitch Markers by Coco Knits. If you guys haven't seen these, it's just a bunch of different styles of stitch markers. So you have the large circles, the medium circles, triangles, small circles, which these are going to be so helpful with like lace or color work. And then the kind that you can screw on, which are great for crochet projects. So I'm really, I'm speechless at how much my Fiber Share partners spoiled me this time. She did send me one other thing that I'm going to talk about at the end of the podcast because it's a book and I kind of just want to talk about the yarn first. Right, moving right along because I don't want this to be a terribly long podcast episode. But I then had my Secret Santa sock swap partner and she spoiled me just the same. I couldn't believe it. So the Secret Santa sock swap was you just send one skein of a sock yarn to your partner and everybody casts on their socks for Christmas and Christmas Eve. So my partner, of course, was way too generous and she sent me a little project bag, which is so freaking cute. And this is by the Cat Bag Lady Crafts. And it's just perfect. It's the perfect little sock bag. It's got 2 different color drawstrings, which I think is really cool and such a cool detail. And it's just a really great size for sock knitting. And in here, she sent me some of the cutest little things, starting with Desert Vista Dye Works self-striping yarn, which this was like the thing that one of the things on there on the like questionnaire that I said I wanted to try. So whenever I opened it up, I couldn't believe that she actually went and got me one. So this is Bring Out the Good China by Desert Vista Dye Works, and it's self-striping with some pinks, yellows, grays, and whites in there. And I think it's fairly obvious that I didn't get a chance to cast on my socks yet, but this will be a really great spring colorway, so I'm not that worried about it. And if you're not familiar with Desert Vista Dye Works, this yarn is in her 75% superwash merino and 25% nylon base, and it's 462 yards. And she does a lot of self-striping yarn, primarily self-striping yarn, and I know she does like a knit-along throughout the year, the Desert Vista Dye Works knit-along where you knit with her socks for 12 months, so I have my first one for my collection. And on top of the bag and the yarn, which is already too much, she sent me some stitch markers, which I am so excited for because they're really cute. So they're rose gold and a purple on there, and these are by Forest Charm. I absolutely love these. They're on a little hexie, and I have never used those until recently. I started using one yesterday because I had somebody send me something, which I'm also going to show you, but yeah, so I just felt so spoiled and so thankful and grateful this year. My family doesn't do a whole lot for Christmas. Like once you turn 13, really, we don't do gifts anymore or anything like that. So I didn't even go home for Christmas. So it was really nice to be like spoiled a little bit from some of my online friends. And it was really nice to spoil some of my online friends this year as well. So that was for my Secret Santa swap. And then I had a really nice friend reach out to me on Instagram. Her name is Joyce, and she has a company called Pages Remembered and a knitting page called Purling Pages. And she saw that I was reading this book. Well, I had finished this book, The Woman in the Window. This I got from my FiberShare partner along with all that yarn. And I have finished this. I think it took me about 10 days to read. And it was so good. I couldn't put it down. It's a thriller, and it's by AJ Finn, which I know is his ghostwriter name. And I know that he has like some drama going around him. So if you guys like decide to look up this book, you might see some craziness that he did. But this is actually going to be turned into a movie later this year, and I watched the trailer as soon as I finished the book, and I really can't wait because it looks like they might do the book pretty good justice. So if you guys like reading and you maybe haven't read a whole lot recently and you kind of feel bad about it like me, I haven't read for a few years, and it's something that I kind of wanted to get back into, but I wasn't like pushing myself too hard. But whenever I got this book, I had never really been into like thrillers or anything. I always just read young adult books, and even to this stage in my life, I'm 27 years old, I was reading young adult books, and I just wasn't into them anymore and into reading, and I didn't even want to look up other books that I could read. And my FiberShare partner asked like what kind of things I like to read, and I told her, you know, I don't read a whole lot. I'd like to get back into it, but I don't really know. But I did tell her that I like true crime. And she was like, it's not true crime, but it's a thriller, and I love thriller movies, so I didn't even think about thriller books, and this was the perfect motivation to get me back into reading. So if you guys are looking for a good read, it's not like scary or anything, but it does have some twists and turns, which are really nice. So it's going to be turned into a movie. So if you like that, I really highly recommend reading this book. And whenever I posted about that on my story, I had Joyce reach out to me and she asked if she could send me another book that she thought I might like. And I reluctantly said yes because it's really hard for me to accept that people want to be so sweet and kind and gift things to you. So I asked if we could do a yarn book swap and she said no, but we'll see. Anyways, Joyce was just so nice and she spoiled me way too much. Instead of just sending me the book like she said, sorry, I have some fuzzies on here. I should have lint rolled. On top of just sending me the book that she sent me a book cover, or a book sleeve, which is by her brand Pages Remembered. And it's so cute. It's just black and white with some gold polka dots on there. And I really like her logo because I believe that's the phases of the moon on there, which y'all know I love the moon. And inside of the sleeve, which is already great because I can now throw my books in my backpack or my project bag and not have to worry about if they get dented up, bent corners, anything like that, because I can just throw it in here, which is really good. And then she sent me Behind Her Eyes by Sarah Pinbaro. I don't know. It's also a thriller. I'm not very far in it. I think I'm on chapter 7. Yeah, I'm on chapter 7 so far, so I don't really have a synopsis of it. But I do know that this is a thriller. I also know that it has a crazy ending, which I can't wait. Joyce said that her sister was mad at her about the ending because it was just so crazy. And then like all of the things on the back talk about the ending. So I'm really excited to like really dive into this book. So that's what I'm reading currently, and if you guys have any other book suggestions, I seem to really like thrillers, so leave a comment down below with some of your favorites. I'm just going to slip that back in. And then there's one other thing that I want to show you guys that Joyce sent me. She was so kind, and she said since she reached out to me on her knitting page and not her reading page, she wanted to send me a couple of knitting treats as well. So she sent me a little stitch marker progress keeper set of 3. I'm currently using one on the project that I'm not going to show you guys right now because it matches perfectly. But she also sent me this adorable progress keeper here with the lobster claw clasp and a leaf and a couple of little beads on there. And then this hexagon stitch marker with some beads on the end. And then the other one is a smaller hexagon with some beads on the end as well. And they're perfect. I love them. So thanks so much, Joyce, for all of those sweet gifts. Thanks for all of the ladies that sent me anything if you guys are watching. I never want you guys to think I'm bragging whenever I show off yarn or any accessories or anything because truly I work really hard for the things that I do have. A lot of the yarn that I have, 99% of the yarn that I have in my stash is all yarn that I got from sample knitting things. So I just want you guys to know, like, if you really want to become a knitter of sweaters or shawls and you want to use nicer yarn and you don't have the budget for it, because I know I don't have the budget for it, just find your way to do it. There's always a way to make your dreams come true. So for me, I just started sample knitting because that was a way that I could get yarn in my stash and not have to pay for it, but it's the yarn I still want to use. So just hustle your way through, and I promise you, you will be able to get the yarn of your dreams as well. Yeah, I don't know how long this episode has been, but I think that is all I'm going to talk about today. I hope you guys really enjoyed watching this episode of the Lunar Knits podcast. I know it was I talk really fast sometimes, so I don't know, whatever. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, please give this video a thumbs up. Leave a comment down below on what your goals are, your knitting goals are for 2020. I want to know what you're planning on knitting this year. If you want to knit 12 sweaters like me, or if you want to knit, I don't know. Tell me what your 2020 knitting goals are, and subscribe to my channel if you want to see more videos like this, or I have some pretty cool stuff coming up this year, so hit that bell button too so you'll be notified whenever I post those. All right, guys, I'll talk to you later. Bye!